morning and a very warm welcome, Australia, to the Sunrisers. Some of you may have noticed the departure of Sam Armour-Suckup. Well, I'm the new improved host, Anne Arder-Suckup. And what a special show we have for you today, viewers. We can hardly contain our excitement here because we are joined by the Prime Minister of our nation, the very Honourable Scott Morrespin. But before we speak to your hero and mine, here's a quick word from our fabulous sponsors at the Empathy Class Warehouse.
Do you have trouble understanding why people think you're a disgusting pig? Do you need help getting in touch with being a normal human being? We here at the Empathy Class Warehouse can set you on a path of inner enlightenment and help you understand the important things, like how phones can be useful for not just taking upskirts and dick pics or hiring prostitutes while you're sitting in Parliament. So if you're having trouble functioning with morals and how other people feel, give us a call. LNP members will receive a free lesson upon enrollment, but the second lesson will charge you double. Call now.
And now, I am so humbled and excited to introduce that selfless protector of women everywhere, the Prime Minister for Men, Mr. Scott Morrespin. An extra warm welcome to you, Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you, Anne. It's my pleasure to peak with you on top of this current affair. It's my pleasure to speak with you on this top current affairs show.
We do aim to please, Prime Minister. Now, before we speak to you about the wonderful grants program you have set up with Empathy Class Warehouse, our aforementioned sponsors, can we ask you to discuss a small women's problem that's clearly been blown out of all proportion by certain grubby non-News Corp media organisations and, as always, those filthy, disgusting sewer rats on Twitter?
Well, I'm quite busy, but I guess I can make some time for the ladies. After all, as I always remind people, some of my closest family members are ladies, or their younger child equivalents, of course.
Indeed, Prime Minister. It seems certain people in the media have their knickers in a knot, pardon my French, accusing you of glossing over these women's issues with the Cabinet reshuffle. Now, there is a bit of a list here which I will attempt to sum up. These critics say you have ignored and covered up the alleged rape of Brittany Higgins, that you've declined to call an inquiry into alleged cabinet rapist Christian Porter, that you've refused to meet with those saucy and quite unladylike organisers of the March for Justice protests, that you've ignored Liberal Party staffers spilling certain hot liquids on lady MPs' desks. How do you respond to these allegations, Mr. Prime Minister?
Just allegations, Anne. As you know, there's a lot of detractors in the community. Now, let me tell you a thing or two about how I've handled these alleged women's issues. Firstly, as I said, people make all sorts of allegations against our Parliament, against our wonderful, selfless cabinet ministers and members, who selflessly give so much of their time to the community everywhere, all over our great big huge land. Their time to kiddies, to men, even sometimes to women if they have time, occasionally. And let me tell you, Anne, I take these sorts of allegations very seriously, especially if there could be CCTV footage.
Oh, of course you do, Prime Minister. This is fascinating. Please do go on.
It is fascinating. Now, I will. Now, I have certainly not ignored any of these allegations. I have taken them very seriously. Indeed. In fact, I have sent more men off to these wonderful empathy warehouse classes than I've had cold beers with the eels. Let me see. I've just to go over a few. I sent that alleged Brittany Higgins rapist, whose name must be protected to protect the party, of course, off to some anti-date rape lessons at the warehouse. And I've sent my mate, Christian Porter, despite him being innocent of all allegations, off to the warehouse's patented anti-lunatic lessons. Not that he needs them, probably. In fact, I've sent every wanker who comes across my desk to one of these lessons. And I dare say I've sent more men off to empathy training than you've changed your pretty little outfits, Anne. And a very pretty little outfit you have on today, if I may say so. You fill your new role very well indeed, if you know what I mean.
Oh, thank you, Prime Minister. I do love it when you fill me in about women's issues. Now, Prime Minister Morrespin, clearly you've done so much already, but what about the latest allegations of sexual impropriety by federal Liberal MP Andrew Laming and New South Wales Coalition member Michael Johnson? You've been accused of ignoring their behaviour. What do you have to say to that, Prime Minister?
Dear me, Annie. I've looked very closely indeed. Forensically, you might say, at Andrew Laming's candid, tasteful and rather artistic photographs of the female form, as seen up the self-same model's skirts, and I accept his explanation. He was merely doing on-the-spot health checks, as any qualified medical professional like himself would do. He is, after all, a qualified gynaecologist. Those ladies were extremely lucky he didn't ask them for a Medicare gap payment.
Indeed, Prime Minister. But didn't Michael Johnson send photographs of a personal nature off to women while he was sitting in Parliament? And didn't Andrew Laming stalk and harass women on social media?
I'm glad you brought that up, Annykins, which is just what she said. No, it's disgusting to think Andrew's tasteful anatomical photographs of the female form, which he freely and playfully shared with the world via open social media platforms such as Xvideos and Pornhub, were degraded by those revolting grubs on Facebook and Twitter. Which leads me to share my latest and very comprehensive and very, very clever policy, combating women's issues.
Oh, do tell, Prime Minister. I'm sure there are ladies listening to us right now that can't wait to hear how you will fix their little problems.
Well, ladies, just put your iron down and stop cooking the dinner and let me tell you. Now, I have set up a whole new cabinet just for the little ladies. I mean, there was all that talk about women feeling left out of our big swinging dicks club, our playful little club for all of us big swinging, well, you know what I mean. Well, now the ladies have their very own little club, and I've called it the Pretty Little Chicks Club. How much more delightful could a club be?
Oh, so delightful. You are inspired, Prime Minister.
I am inspired. I've thought that myself on numerous occasions. And also, finally, I've given them their own little Prime Minister. A Prime Minister for women, Marise Pini. She will, of course, need to check with me regarding any major decisions and also any medium and small decisions. But still, it's a win for the weaker sex, don't you think?
Oh, a Prime Minister for women. Pure genius. You have certainly outdone yourself there, Prime Minister Morrespin.
I have. I like to do myself all the time, as Jen knows. But that's not all, Annie Poo-Poo, because as part of combating women's problems, the new Prime Minister for Women, Marise Pini, is setting up a special task force as we speak to stamp out all that hateful talk on social media. So much hateful talk, Annie. So much. It really terrible. It distresses me.
Terrible.
Now, we can't reveal too much about this special task force, unlike Michael and his Johnson, but it involves Peter Dutton getting the AFP to stamp on all those hateful tweeters' heads in real life. How good is hating social media, huh?
Oh, it's so good, Prime Minister.
But wait, I know what you're thinking. Is that it? There seems like a lot, but there's more. My government, the one I lead, the one I'm in charge of, the one that is taking Australia to ever greater heights in all sorts of different areas, and which most male MPs are taking self-improvement classes in so they can be even better than they are already, which is, quite frankly, already pretty good, is now investing $1 billion, that is, into Empathy Class Warehouse, the Empathy Class Warehouse. That's so that we can all be better and more empathetic. It's a special grant that gives special discounts to all those special people wanting empathy classes. just so long as they're registered to vote in coalition and marginal electorates. I mean, I've done all a man can do, Annie, and more, for Jen and the girls' sakes.
Oh, it's all just so amazing. Prime Minister Morrespin, thank you so very much for coming in today to give us the exclusive rundown on all these fabulous new developments. You are indeed the primest of prime ministers.
I am an alpha prime minister, Annie. It's great to chat with you anyway, Anna the salamander.
Oh, thank you. And now, by the way, I'm Anne Ardisucker. And now another word from our sponsor and recipient of the Morrespin Government Special Women's Grant. Here's the Empathy Class Warehouse.
Is society not accepting you? Do your friends and family regard you as a completely amoral piece of filth? Are you a member of the Liberal or National parties? Don't forget to give us a call here at the Empathy Class Warehouse if you need help with learning how to treat women with respect and becoming a normal human being. Call within the next 10 minutes to receive a free phone charger with your first lesson. Call today.